Okay, now here we want to guess a limit from numerical values. We want to guess the value of the limit as x approaches 1 of the function x minus 1 over x squared minus 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and then use our graphing calculator to determine some of these values. Okay, so what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to look at values of x that are less than or equal to 1. But we're going to start on the left side and approach the value of 1. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put y equals. Now if you notice here, I've already put in the function x minus 1 over x squared minus 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a table. So if I hit the second button and graph, and right above it says table, I'm going to hit second and then table. And so what I'm going to do is, because I already have the equation in for y1, whatever I choose for x is going to be the input, and it's automatically going to give us the output. So if we start at 0.5, it gives us 0.6667. Okay, let's go ahead to go to 0.9. Okay, and it gives us an output of 0.52632. Okay, if we put in 0.99, okay, it gives us 0.50251. Okay, if we put in 0.999, it gives us 0.50025. Okay, if we put in 0.9999, then it gives us 0.5003. Okay, so you can see here that as we start at 0.5 and we're getting closer and closer to 1, we can see here that it's getting closer and closer for the output to be 0.5. Okay, now these are all values that are less than 1. Okay, let's see what happens when it's greater than 1. So let's start at 1.5. Okay, if we start at 1.5, it gives us 0.4. Okay, if we go to 1.1, it gives us 0.476190. If we go to 1.01, it's given us 0.49751. If we go to 1.001, it gives us 0.49975. If we go to 1.0001, then you can see here, again, it's getting closer and closer to 0.5. So by using the values that are in this table, in both of these tables, okay, we can say that the limit of this function as x approaches 1 of x minus 1 over x squared minus 1 is going to equal 0.5. Okay. Now, another thing to look at here is that we can also make note of the following, and this is something that we're going to look later on. Okay, if you have x minus 1 over x squared minus 1, okay, the denominator of this rational function can be factored into x plus 1, x minus 1 using the difference of squares. Okay, and if we simplify the x minus 1, then what we end up with is 1 over x plus 1. Okay, now again, we're looking for the limit as x approaches 1. Now, if we plug in the value of 1 here, right, we actually get 1 over 1 plus 1, which becomes 1/2, which then equals 0.5. But again, that's something that we'll be looking at later on. Okay, now, in this first example, okay, it illustrated by the graph of f in this figure. Okay, now let's change f slightly by giving it the value 2 when x is equal to 1. Okay, so what's happening here is now we have a piecewise function. So the first piece, x minus 1 over x squared minus 1, if x does not equal 1, because it would make it undefined. And then you have the value of 2 if x is equal to 1. Okay, so if you look over here, okay, as the new function g still has the same limit as x approaches 1. So over here, okay, you can see here that as x approaches 1 on the right side, as it approaches 1 on the left side, again, the limit is still 0.5. Now over here, okay, if we look at the second piece, you can see here that we have this ordered pair here that represents 1, 2. Okay, and again, that's from the second piece of that function. So still, as x approaches from the right to 1 and x approaches from the left to 1, we still see that the limit is still 0.5. I also want to show you how you can use Desmos to create this table instead of using the TI-83 or 84. So here what we're going to do is we're going to select table, and then we have our column which represents x, and then here we need to change this column, which is the y column, and then actually type in the actual function according to x. So you got parentheses, x, just hit number 1, and then minus 1. And then we're going to divide that by, again, x. Make sure you put the 1 in there. And then we need to square that. And then that's minus 1. So therefore, there is our function. So now, let's go ahead and put in the values of 0.5, 0.9, 0.99, 0.999, 0.9999. Okay, so you can see how those numbers are matching what you have in the table. And then likewise, if you look at the numbers that are greater than 1, we put in 1.5, 1.1, 1.01, 1.001, and 1.0001. So again, this is just a quick way if you want to use Desmos, and it graphs it to the right. So that's also something that you can use when you're going through your assignments.